So we're in the home stretch, the Zielgerade in German. So here's my theory on, each of us, Barbara and I, work on renewal campaigns that are comprehensive from the beginning to the end. Each of us kind of had to focus on a few small things, and so the thing I want to leave you with regard to the renewal series is the customer has to believe that losing her relationship with you will be too painful to bear. And that's the idea you want to get across. Barb made the very good point that if somebody is not convinced that they love this relationship, it's going to be hard to get them to renew it. If they don't use it in their work, if they're not accustomed to using it, to benefiting from it, things changing for the good in their lives, in their work, chances are going to be very difficult for them for you to get them to renew. However, nonetheless, here you are at renewal time. You've got 3 months to go before the renewal is over. You've got 3 months after it's ended, and you're sending them renewal notices. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? You can't just say, as Barb said, you can't just say, oh, you're not going to get the next issue. They either care about that or they don't care about it, and sure, the first time you send them that notice, maybe that will do it, and they'll renew, and the job is done. But we're talking about getting more people to renew than otherwise would renew. How do we convince more people to renew, to increase your renewal rate, increase your revenue and your profit margin? So great renewal marketing threatens impending loss of security or well-being. It's either fear or greed, right? They're either going to lose security or they're going to lose the opportunity to prosper. So here's a typical don't do this. But there's no such thing as Alzheimer's Weekly, but I copied almost word for word a renewal notice from a publisher who will remain nameless. Your subscription to Alzheimer's Weekly will expire on December 15th, and we recommend you renew now. We recommend that you renew now. So polite of them. To prevent interrupted delivery, please complete the information below. Return with payment. Call us toll-free. If you have a recent change of address, all the business of renewing, right? And all about what we want you to do, okay? Don't do this, okay? I call it the art of the scary invoice lookalike, and Barbara talked about sending people something that looks like an invoice. You're not allowed to send an invoice unless you have a purchase order, but it looks like an invoice. And here's an example of one where you could take a fairly simple form-like tool that is used frequently in renewal notices, in renewal series. So it says your one-year subscription, your 24/7 lifeline for avoiding regulatory threats and protecting cash. That's the brand promise. Repeat the brand promise. Remind them of why they subscribed. Tell them what they're going to lose. Your subscription includes 24 blah, blah, blah. You must renew. Protect your company from compliance violations, hidden cash flow traps, internal fraud, audit pitfalls, and technology missteps. Tell them what's going to go wrong. Tell them what could go wrong. Imagine yourself in that situation. Somebody's asking you to send them $500 or $2,000, whatever the subscription is, and you're saying, I'm not really sure. Well, what would it take to get you to do it? Well, it's the sense of loss. It's like, I don't really want to send them the money, but I kind of have to. Well, why do they have to? Because they could be having problems, right? They could lose security, or they could lose, if it's a investment newsletter, they could lose the opportunity to profit from that newsletter. So we had some other benefits here. It's a fast read, great tips and warnings, make your job easier, plus save you scores of hours. In other words, even an invoice lookalike can be packed with benefits that remind them of why this is a great service. So market for renewals like you really mean it. I did a test with a publisher to see whether a lift letter could help them. A lift letter is basically a half sheet of paper, a half of an 8.5 by 11, cut it in half, and you fold it twice. So it folds like this, and it has an outside cover, which I'm going to show you. And then when you open that cover up, it has a letter inside. It's called a lift letter because it lifts response, or it should in theory. So this was the outside cover of that lift letter. What if OSHA, the Occupational Safety Health Administration, springs an audit on your company this year? So think about this. The newsletter is there to protect you from an OSHA audit, right? And so we're saying, think about it. What if OSHA springs something on you unexpectedly? They walk in, they say, we're going to be there next week, and we're going to inspect your entire company for occupational safety and health issues. And then just what you need, an OSHA inspection, especially if you miss recent changes in the regs or your compliance rates have slipped. Why would that happen? Because you don't have the newsletter. That's why I think you won't want to miss the coming 12 issues of Safety Compliance Alert. As you know, OSHA inspections can be unnerving for you, your employees, and your top management. And this is kind of the other lesson, that the sense of loss, the fear of loss, is an emotion. So yes, people want to know 12 issues, but what they really want to know is, what's it going to feel like when they stop receiving your publication? And you want to remind them that that probably is not going to feel that great. It's not going to feel good for any number of reasons that you know and that you're going to put into something like a lift letter. So we ended up doing, this was tested, had a large enough subscriber base that we could test it. We ended up doing it for 8 or 9 more, this kind of lift letter for 8 or 9 other publications. So fear drives responses to emailed renewal notices. Here's a subject line. This is a renewal notice for emergency medicine residents. So EM is emergency medicine. ED is the emergency department. So worried about your EM boards, your emergency medicine board certification. Speed prep time, increase your confidence with 4 bonuses. Speed prep time, it's objective, it's measurable. It's a measurable benefit. Increase your confidence, feel better, right? A concrete benefit and an emotional benefit. While board exams may make every EM resident nervous, again, the nervous, boards are just the first of many tests you'll face, most of them in real life with real patients in the emergency department. Frankly, the solution both to passing your boards and to passing the everyday tests of emergency practice are the same: continuous learning. And we go into why this newsletter provides that continuous learning that will make them be a competent and a confident emergency physician as they enter the real world of emergency practice. So I'm going to leave you with 3 thoughts here. Oh, I just wanted to mention something. I had jotted down this note. Well, if you only remember 3 things about retention, make it these. I'll give you my point in just a minute. So this is from the beginning to the end here. You'll increase your renewal rates dramatically if customers read and use your content. Rule number 1. They have to read it and they have to use it. Secondly, you'll increase your renewal rates dramatically if your content helps customers improve their lives and the results they seek. So this is the middle section. This is the content. This is the core. This is what you're selling them. So I did a test with VNR. I hope Helmut doesn't mind my mentioning this, with some investment newsletters. And we worked with 7 newsletter editors and product managers to improve the editorial for these publications. We did it over about a 4-month period. And we took a snapshot of the performance of those 7 publications to track their, they have auto renew. So people, it isn't a renewal rate, but it's a retention rate. How many people don't cancel? So we looked at the cancellation rate, and we looked at the conversion rate to paid from trials. So we worked with 7 publications. We improved the cancellation rate for 4 of the 7 publications, and we increased the conversion rate for 5 of the 7 publications. Okay? So we were able to test the effect of changing the editorial, improving the editorial, and making it more valuable for people. Now, why didn't, you ask, well, how come only 5 of 7? How come only 4 of 7? Well, a lot of this depends on, this is a huge factor when you talk about improving content, is you have to bring editors along. The editors have to believe it. The editors have to want to do it. The editors have to do it. And they have to be able to do it. And those are all big ifs, because in many cases, I showed a slide of the rules that the Wall Street Journal has for writing a lead paragraph. And I was showing this to a group of editors and publishers, and the editor-in-chief raised her hand and she said, when I worked at the Denver Post, if somebody had shown us a list of rules like this for writing lead paragraphs, we would have quit. Don't tell me how to write journalism. A lot of journalists are like that. They don't want to be told how to do it. They think they know how to do it. They often don't know what we've been talking about today. They often don't know the stakes. They often don't know the goals of high-priced information, that it has to do certain things that journalism often doesn't do. So your editorial has to help people improve their lives. And last, you'll increase your renewal rates dramatically if customers feel a sense of loss or fear when they think of living without your content. And so that's the end of my presentation. You can contact me, give me a business card if you want a copy of mine, or I think they're going to be available online. Although I will have to say, is it 172 slides that we ended up with? Something, a lot. But in any case, I want to thank Robert and Barbara for participating in this event. You guys did a fantastic job, ran through a lot of information. Let's give these guys a hand.